Rev up your engines! Sonabra has roadside services. I'm a roadside service in Orange County, California. I can't believe how fast the batteries are failing for new Toyotas and Hondas. I tell my customers, go back and complain. Yeah, unfortunately, they're all going for cheapness. They're going for cheaper, smaller batteries when they build the cars. It's kind of the opposite of what they've done with tires. When I was a young mechanic, the new cars often came with 2-ply tires. Sometimes they'd wear out in 12,000 miles. They just figured, we're selling the car, we'll just put cheap tires. But they got sued for liability when they blow up if people got injured. So now, the tires that come on your car when it's new are generally pretty good tires. Batteries have gone the other way. They used to put pretty good batteries, and now they're just putting cheaper ones in, and they wear out faster. The company's not going to care one way or another. If it's out of warranty, they don't care. Just go get a good battery like one at AutoZone or Walmart or someplace where you get a good guarantee and a good price. It's not worth arguing over a battery. They're not going to do anything about it anyways. If it's out of warranty. If it's in warranty, they got to replace it, but it's a very limited warranty on their batteries. Wally Lindbergh said, how much can a new and used car salesman make in a year? I love your channel. All right. If you're dishonest, you can make a whole bunch of money. There's a lot of shady deals going on. Problem is, there's not enough cars for sale, and so everybody's ramping it up, putting it, you got to add undercoating, you got to add this, you got to add that. The other day, a guy's telling me he was going to pick up his Bronco. They said, your Bronco's here. He went to pick it up, and it was 10 grand more than what he had signed up for. Now, it's not a healthy way to make a living. There's no arguing that. And when it comes to used car, I say, you buy a used car from this man? It's a dirty business. I know people in the business, it is a dirty business. They want to buy low and sell high. Half the time, they don't know the history of it. I just uploaded a video about this poor guy who bought a Toyota Corolla. It's a Toyota certified pre-owned car. And they actually did about $8,000 worth of work. They put a transmission on it, control arms, all kinds of stuff, and it still shook because the car was in a wreck. They said it wasn't a wreck. CarMax said it wasn't a wreck. And this Epic VIN thing the company gave me said it wasn't a wreck. Those information systems are useless because they don't get all the information. They don't ever even look at the car. They just go through databases. What's data? Garbage in, garbage out, right? That's data. So you can't trust any of those services when you're buying a used car. It's a dirty business. You can make a lot of money in used cars, but it's kind of a dirty business. I wouldn't want to get involved. I'm the mechanic. And what mechanics always say, we got the 3 B's. I didn't build it, I didn't buy it, I didn't break it. And I'll fix it, but I don't want to get involved in the other 3. Mark Miglarini says, Scotty, would the 2022 Civic with the turbo be a good choice for a commuter car? Would it last 100 to 150,000 miles? Yeah, they certainly should. I had a guy the other day bring me a Honda, and he listened to me, and he put in the 0W16 oil. It was a turbocharged, and it had an oil dilution problem. But when he changed to the 0W16, the oil dilution went from a certain percentage to almost nothing. It said TR, which means trace, just a tiny amount. They tell the truth of these oil analytic companies. They're not like, say, a cereal box where it says, no calories from sugar. Well, if it's under a certain amount, they're allowed to say no. And they lie about everything. Like someone the other day, I saw this bag and it said, it's only 60 calories, right? Then you look at the bag, 60 calories per serving. This bag has 6 servings, 360 calories, not 60, so I didn't buy it. False advertising, right? And you're going to see that all the time with just about anything. That's 0W16 oil. It's made just for the turbo GDI engines. It actually does work. His dilution problem went away just from doing that. So as long as you use the 0W16 oil, you should have no problems at all, and they can easily last that long. I've seen older ones last longer than that. Pam J says, my neighbor's selling her 2013 Nissan Frontier King Cab with 68,000 miles for $7,300. Well, I'll try to offer less, but they are decent trucks. I'm not a Nissan fan with the exception of their Frontier trucks. They are pretty good trucks. Nissan's problem is the crappy Jatco transmissions that are front-wheel drive. The Frontiers are either rear-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, but the main transmission drives the rear, and those transmissions are fine. They've been making those for ages, and they work perfectly fine. There's no problem with them. Although they always say, don't buy or sell a car to a friend or neighbor, or soon you won't be friends or neighbors for long. Have it checked out by a mechanic to make sure. And if the mechanic says it's good, hey, they can last quite some time. Andre Godfrey says, Scotty, I got a 2012 Mitsubishi Outlander. I smell gas, but there's no physical leak. Gas stinks mainly because you smell the vapors. You don't see any leaks, you have a vapor leak. The most common thing is the evap canister vent valve is either stuck open or your evap canister itself is worn out and it's spitting raw gas fumes out. It's only supposed to put out clear air. It's supposed to filter the hydrocarbons out. When they get old, they get full of gas and then they smell. Check that. And also, of course, change the gas cap. Could be a leaking gas cap, that simple. And look around your fuel injectors. They are plastic, right? And if they leak, gasoline's a good cleaner. you'll see maybe you got 4 fuel injectors. They're dirty, but one of them's whistle clean. That one's probably leaking. Look at it close, and it's probably leaking. You smell a little bit of fumes. It'll evaporate. It won't reach the ground because if it's on a hot engine, it'll evaporate. And of course, it's dangerous, and you want to replace it if that's what's leaking. But often it's the charcoal canister, the evap canister vent valve that goes bad. Joey says, Scotty, what's the best car you ever owned? What's my wife's car? Lexus ES300. I paid $3,000 for it. With 65,000 miles. It still runs like a clock. Looks like a new car. Those things are solid made. And I gotta say, the other day, this lady came in from upstate New York. She had bought a Lexus 6-cylinder, used. She delivers engines and transmissions to shops for a living. She brought it over here. She had straight piped it, so it was super loud. I'd never seen one like that. But it ran like a top. It didn't matter how fast you were revving it up. It didn't backfire at all. You can't beat those. And that's the best car everybody. Runs great, rides great. It's just a great car. And of course, I'm a cheapskate. I didn't pay the $38,000 that it was new. I paid $3,000 when it still probably had 80% of its life left. And that's why you buy used cars. Now the prices are a lot higher, but they're still not nearly as high as brand new ones, unless you're talking about a car that's a year or two old. Sometimes they go for even more than they did when they were new. But as they get old, 10, 15 years, buy them then. You get a Lexus or Toyota or Honda, they can still have tons of life left. DMC, Scotty, what do you think of a Lexus RX 450H and an older one from 09 to 2013, please? Lexus makes great cars. As they age, they cost a fortune to repair. Now, they don't break for quite some time. I'll give you an example. I had a customer with one in Houston, and it was a hybrid. Well, they had 200,000 miles on it. Then the brake system went, and it was $1,900 just for the brake master cylinder assembly. I couldn't get it anywhere else. They're very expensive to repair when they break. They don't break all that off. If you buy one that's low mileage, great, but do not buy a high mileage one or don't pay much for it, because if that hybrid system ever breaks down, that $1,900 or so for the master cylinder is going to make it look like peanut money compared to what it would cost to fix the hybrid system when it finally breaks down. I'll give you an example. If a generator goes out, it's going to cost you $7,000, $8,000, $9,000. Cost a lot of money to fix those hybrids. Just realize it. Feeling Sugi says, Scotty, after putting gum out in your car, is it better to drive your car on the highway or is it okay to drive in the city? Is there any difference? Well, the faster you go, the better it's going to work. At higher speeds, the cleaner is going to clean better. It's jetted in faster and the car's burning it faster and it heats up faster and it gets rid of the impurities faster. That's the old myth, only it's not a myth, of the Italian tune-up. The Italian tune-up myth. Hey, Tony, get in the car. Drive it fast. It will run better. Well, if you got a car that drives slow all the time in the city, and you drive on a highway 65, 70 miles an hour for an hour or two, it probably will run better when you get back. It helps clean it out. It will work a little bit better if you do it at highway speeds, but, they'll still do some cleaning at lower speeds. Or let's say you don't go on a highway much. You got an automatic. Leave it in second gear. Instead of putting a D, go 1, 2, and then you got it running 35, 4,500 RPMs, which to the engine is the same as driving at highway speeds. It's the RPM. So if you keep it in a lower gear at lower speed, that will clean it the same way. You get a little bit worse gas miles, but you're cleaning it out, so who cares? And it does a better job that way if you don't want to drive it on the highway at high speeds. Michael Farrell says, Scotty, what do you think about companies like Ford using plastic oil drain plugs? They just want to make them cheaper. And it's stupid. It's hot oil, it's plastic. Eventually it'll crack and it'll leak. And then if you tighten it too tight, it's plastic, right? You can easily break it. If it's metal, it's a lot easier to get it snug, tighten it up. Then with plastic, you could easily break it off. Now, if you think that's bad, I was talking to one of the viewers who happens to be a furnace technician. He fixes furnaces, industrial furnaces. He says, Scotty, you're not gonna believe this. They have plastic parts on these furnaces now, and they melt from the heat. Ooh, what a surprise. These engineers, they should line them up against a wall or something. Going too cheap. Now, for the engineers' behalf, they just work for some company, and the company's telling them, make them as cheap as you can, so they're following orders. If it's just following orders, don't blame me. But still, you're part of a system that makes crap. So, hey, please, stop doing stuff like that, Ford. It's just stupid. What do you say? Maybe, 10 cents, 15 cents? Hey, you charge enough for the cars. Don't use plastic. Just don't. It's stupid. Well, he says, Scotty, what do you think of Land Rovers? Well, I could spend a few hours telling you about Land Rovers. This thing in England where they had the anniversary of them, right? Originally, they were copying the American Willys Jeep, and they made their own. A small little one. They got engines from all over the world. They made a great four-wheel drive system so they can go at all kinds of angles and run. They started to make them bigger. They started to make them yuppie mobiles. Or they started putting Buick V8s that were modified by Land Rover and by British Leyland who were making them. And they got bigger and bigger and bigger, and their quality went down and down and down. If you got like a 1950-something Land Rover, the little one, some of those are still running. Africa, England, they're still running. when. You get one that's new or 4 years old, they don't last that long before they fall apart. They're endless money pits, and of course, realize that the Indian company Tata owns them, and the Chinese own a certain percentage of them too. And now they're playing all kinds of games. They're making SUVs, Jaguar Land Rover, right? They're making SUVs, but they're made in China, and they're really Chinese cars, but they put the name on it. Names are getting so watered down, a lot of the stuff doesn't mean anything anymore. But an actual Land Rover is one of the biggest money pits you could possibly get yourself into. That's just how they are. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.